What's going on YouTube? So last year, Honda's iconic minivan, the Odyssey, underwent an extensive refresh, which included some things like new technology. But now 2026 models are hitting dealerships, so we wanted to spend the day with this model to see if anything else has changed. So, should you buy this over all the competition or even an SUV? Well, let's go ahead and find out. Alright, so let's kick things off here with a spec dump. Under the hood, you're going to find just a 3.5 liter V6 engine across the entire lineup. It makes 280 horsepower. It's paired to a 10-speed automatic transmission, and our combined fuel economy is 22 mpg.
Now, the base price for 2026 is about $43,000, and if you're looking to buy one or any new vehicle, we'd encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes to get the best price. Now, of course, later on, we'll take it out for a spin to show you the performance of the powertrain. We'll also be getting things like our sound level reading so you can see how quiet this will be for your family.
But let's go ahead and close up the hood so we can take a look at the exterior as well as the most important interior. So jumping in with the exterior design, up here in the front, you're not going to notice any major changes for 2026. That's because this was updated, like we said, for 2025 model year. When they refreshed it, they did change a few elements with the grille to make it look a little bit different than it did previously, including this little accent down here at the bottom. Now, in terms of trim differences, you have a matte black finish on all of your trims except for the Elite. This is the model that's going to get the gloss black finish for a more premium design. And speaking of the trim levels, you might have noticed when Mason mentioned the base price that it was fairly high. I just want to reiterate that this model doesn't really have any true base trims anymore. It starts at the EXL trim level, which is typically the middle trim in the Honda lineup, so you don't have that LX or EX version that you can choose. Now let's talk about the headlights. So you have standard full LED headlights. These are reflector LEDs. You also have an LED daytime running light that loops around. Your turn signal is separated down here in this housing, and that's next to your standard LED fog lights. And as we walk around to the back, the Odyssey continues with that fairly stylish design.
Yeah, and as far as design touches, we have a spoiler up top, a wiper right here. We have this chrome piece that kind of traces through the entire rear. And then if you go for an upper level example, you'll have the shiny black piece right through the middle section. And then let's talk about our taillights. So our taillights are going to be fully incandescent. That's something I really would not like to see in 2026, especially for a loaded model like this, but they are going to be fully incandescent. They have a darkened finish. And then down here at the lower area, this is all going to be finished in a body color. Your max towing comes in at 3,500 pounds. And here's your fun fact for the day. These reflectors are brought over from the NSX Super car, so this minivan's pretty cool.
Moving on to the wheels, 18-inch alloys are standard on the Odyssey. Many of the trims come with 19-inch alloys, which is what we have on today's Elite trim level. This is the contrast design. The other versions have some different finishes that you can choose from, but I think these look quite nice overall. And then as far as our mirrors, you have standard blind spot monitoring and standard heating. If you choose the Elite, you get some pretty nice features. So you have power folding, and you also get auto dimming on both the driver and passenger side.
Now at this side of the Odyssey, there's not really anything mini about this minivan. It's 205.2 inches long, which does mean it's going to be longer than vehicles like the Honda Pilot if you happen to be cross-shopping with that. We have some chrome window surrounds. We do not have roof rails even on the Elite model. And then as far as your safety systems are concerned, I'm happy to tell you, of course, Honda knows this is a family vehicle. You will get all of your active safety features as standard equipment. But guys, there's a lot to talk about when it comes to all the family-friendly features on the inside, so let's get into that. But first,
if you're new here, we're brothers, and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12 and 16. We started young, and since then, we've reviewed over 2,000 cars at every price point. No matter what you're looking for, from our long-term vehicle videos to our side-by-side comparisons, we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family. Let's learn a lot and have some fun with all the latest cars. All right, now it's time to check out the interior. Here's our key fob. It's the typical Honda key fob. I like their key fob. It's very small and gets the job done. High quality as well. Standard smart entry and remote start on all models. You also have the power door buttons right there. That means getting inside, just grab behind the handle and it will unlock the door for you. And then we can check out the interior. So like I mentioned, we have the Elite trim that's going to give you some special niceties. And before we get into all of those individual details, we'll start with the seats. So since we don't have any base trims anymore, all the Odysseys come standard with real leather seating. Here on the Elite, you get a little bit of additional color contrast and the piping. So the seats are going to be kind of elevated in that regard. You also notice you have a perforation that runs through here. And overall, these seats are super comfortable as you'd expect. Power adjustment is also standard equipment with 4-way lumbar support. And you also have standard memory seats located right there on the door trim. Let's climb on inside. Closing up the door, we've got a little sound animation there. But closing up the door, let's look at the cabin materials. You've got a leather trim over here on the armrest and through the center section. We also have gloss black for our center door trim and also our door handle. That's on the Touring and Elite trims. Soft touch plastic all along the top. We have a leatherette that covers the top part of the dashboard with a stitching detail. More of the gloss black, and we even have a faux wood accent here on the Elite to make it feel a little bit more premium inside of the interior. Down here on the lower panels, everything is going to be hard touch, but very solidly put together, which is what we expect from Honda. Now we'll fire it up with a standard push button start. So beginning our interior tour with the gauge cluster, we've got a partially digital one. So the left-hand side is a 7-inch reconfigurable display that you can switch between several different kinds of information. And then on the other side, you have an analog speedometer. Now there's no head-up display on this model. We don't really expect that per se in a minivan. And then as we pull back to the steering wheel, we've got a leather-wrapped steering wheel that's standard on all models. We also have rain-sensing wipers and steering wheel heating. Those are Elite exclusive features. Now, let's take a look over here at interior storage. Obviously, if you're interested in buying a minivan, you want maximum storage. And I think you'll be happy with what you find up here in the Odyssey. So inside the center console, we've got it loaded down with donuts. That, of course, is our logo. And we throw them in the center console so that you can compare to the competition. In this case, we've got 24 donuts because we not only have this bin, which is super deep, but in front of that, you've got a storage drawer. So between the two of them, our center console here can easily contain 24 donuts, which is the maximum amount that we bring along with us. Now, you've got a wireless phone charging pad prominently there in the center. By the way, that's standard equipment on all models. 2 cup holders, a giant pit here for all different variety of things, like a diaper bag or something like that. And then you've got a bunch of power outlets located above it. Typical Honda fashion, we have a push-button style shifter. Press D for drive, press S for sport shift, and you also have manual shifting paddles. When in reverse, you'll see this backup camera across the entire lineup of Odysseys. That's because there is no offering of a 360-degree camera system, even on this top Elite. But at least you do get 3 different views and parking sensors. Press the P there for park. You also have an electronic parking brake, and you have a brake hold feature. Now also in this region, of course, we've got several controls, including our climate setup. 3-zone automatic climate is standard equipment. You have good physical controls there for all of your main functions, including your fan speed and zones, plus you can adjust the rear climate from the front of the cabin. Underneath of that, you'll find buttons for your heated seats. That's standard equipment on every Odyssey. Your ventilated seats, though, those are standard only on the Elite trim. And then above that, we have a physical control for the audio system. So we've got an 11-speaker sound system on this version. That is up from the standard 7 speakers on the other trim levels, and we'll give it a sample. Had to give it a second there to let the beat drop. Overall sound quality of this system is totally fine. There are some rivals though that have branded sound systems. Those sound a little bit better overall on the top trims. Okay, and let's dig in with the main infotainment system. So this was one of the big areas where Honda made some adjustments last year with the refresh just to kind of modernize the technology a little bit. They upsized the screen now to 9 inches. That's standard on every single version. As you can see, it's got that typical Honda Link software. So you have some built-in applications through there. You also have wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, which are very important to people. Upper trims come with built-in navigation. Here's what that's going to look like. Takes a little second there to load up, so there's that. And then, of course, you have some minivan-specific features. So as you kind of swipe through the apps, you can see that we've got things like the cabin talk system, which is an intercom, bringing your voice from the front to the back and vice versa. We also have the cabin watch camera. That's on both the Touring and the Elite trim, so you can monitor what your kiddos are doing in those back rows. Up top, we have an auto dimming mirror with home link remotes. That is standard equipment. Also standard is this regular sized sunroof. Just be aware there is no availability of a panoramic setup.
Now, arguably way more important than the outside, the front of the cabin, is this rear area. So let's talk about this and what you're going to find back here. First and foremost, a power door is standard equipment on every version of the Odyssey. So that's nice. You won't have to worry about your kids ramming it into a car parked next to you. And let's also discuss overall space. So space is going to be very good on this model. 41 inches of legroom, 40 inches of headroom. Those are good numbers for the segment. And of course, we brought along the official Car Confections ruler. The reason we brought that along is so we can get a realistic knee room figure for you. This seat is adjusted to Drew, who is 5'8". I'm 5'9", and look at that. We are sitting at 9 inches of knee room. That is very good. Certainly a spacious rear seat. Also, my feet can slide up underneath of the seat. And let's talk about the seats. These can slide forward and backward a good distance. They can also recline a good distance. And as you can see, we have armrest on both sides, so you're really comfortable back here. Now, all Odysseys will have this middle seat as well. So that means that overall seating capacity is 8 passenger, whereas some of the competition might have a captain's chair setup. This is all going to have this middle seat. That being said, you can't actually fully remove this middle seat and, still have the full captain's chair arrangement. It just gives you that extra flexibility. And then if you do remove that middle seat, you can also slide these seats side to side in addition to be able to go forward and back. It's called their Magic Slide system, so that's pretty cool. As far as other features, here in the center we have 2 cup holders. Down below we have 2 USB-C ports, but we're not done yet. We have quite a lot of storage pockets, which I think would be quite important for buyers, as well as those vents. And then up here in the ceiling, we have a rear seat entertainment system. And one of the nice things about the Odyssey is that they're including this rear seat entertainment system standard on the Touring and Elite grades. So, that's pretty nice. That's not just on this top end example. Now, as far as how you adjust the climate, that's done over here on the right side. So put your favorite and most responsible kid on the right side of the Odyssey. And then as far as the door trim is concerned, we do have rear window sunshades. Those are also standard on every single model, and a lot of door storage as well. And let's check out the third row as well. So in order to get back here, they have made it really easy. All you have to do is grab that right there. That is going to tilt the seat back a little bit, as well as allow it to slide out of the way. Do also keep in mind you have the Magic Slide ability, so if you don't have that middle seat installed, you can just slide the seat side to side without having to remove a child's seat. Now, let's discuss the overall third row itself. I did fail to mention you can fold this down as well, and that will give you 3 additional cup holders, a storage cubby, as well as a nice padded armrest in the second row. And sitting back here, oh my goodness, this is a fantastic third row experience in this Odyssey. You're sitting at 38 inches of headroom, 38 inches of legroom as well. So those are really impressive numbers for a minivan. It's one of the very best third rows that you can get. There are 3 seats back here. And as you can see, I brought along the ruler back here as well. I have 3.5 inches of knee room, and that's with this seat slid all the way back in its tracks. My feet can slide up underneath of the seat, and the thigh support is also quite fantastic here in the Odyssey. Now, what about the features that you'll find? Well, we have vents located right over here on this side, 2 more cup holders, a USB port, as well as audio controls. Additionally, we have third row window sunshades, which are also standard equipment. So this is going to be a fantastic third row. I could just see you road tripping for hours and hours on end. So I'm going to say this is absolutely fit for a king. Walking up to the tailgate, a Power 1 is standard equipment. If you want the hands-free function, you do have to spring for this Elite model. Now, what about cargo space? This is a minivan, of course. Minivans have a ton of room. They're very practical vehicles. And behind the third row of seats, you're sitting at 33 cubic feet. Behind the second row, 88 cubic feet, and as a maximum, 145 cubic feet. Now, I think that goes without saying that that is larger than other Hondas that you could be looking at, such as the Honda Pilot, for instance. Those are really impressive numbers in terms of cargo capacity. And if you're cross-shopping it with other minivans like the Toyota Sienna or Pacifica, for instance, we'd encourage you to go to carconfections.com/vehicle rankings. Now, the reason you do that is because we've looked at all the minivans for sale right now and ranked them in individual categories that certainly matter a lot to certain buyers. Things like cargo capacity, third row features, luxury features in the front of the cabin, powertrain experience, value. All of that is detailed for you. So if you want to make an informed buying decision, definitely go to carconfections.com/vehicle rankings to do that. Now, with the third row up, you have this huge pit down here, and that's going to allow for a ton of space. Now, in order to fold the third row, they have made that super easy. You just grab this little strap, and that's going to allow this seat to kind of just fall into this pit and create a completely flat loading floor. That's going to give you a ton of room. In order to fold the second row of seats, you do have to go up there and fold them down manually, or you can just completely remove them as well. And now that we've got those seats folded down, let's get our cargo length, width, and height figures. It's a Car Confections review after all. As far as cargo length is concerned, we have about 91 inches behind Drew's 5'8" driving position. From behind the second row of seats, about 63 inches of length. And then from behind the third row, I'll just kind of fold this back up here, which I can demonstrate that is pretty easy as well. You can expect 24 inches. Overall opening is 49 inches wide, and then cargo height, I will get it at, the deepest point that this vehicle can be, and that is 50 inches of cargo height. So that really is absolutely incredible for this Odyssey model. The load-in is also super low to the ground, unlike most SUVs, only about 25 inches as your load-in height. Over here on the side, you have some extra storage cubbies. Just be aware, no vacuum cleaner or refrigerator or anything fancy like that in the Odyssey. And you do have a spare tire. It's just integrated underneath of the second row. Well, guys, here we are behind the wheel of the 2026 Honda Odyssey. In this test drive, we're going to be discussing quite a lot, as you can see right now. We'll also be getting things like our sound level reading, but first we need to start with a hard acceleration.
All right, so there's an acceleration up to 60 miles an hour. Going up a hill with our Honda Odyssey. So when it comes to this vehicle, like we talked about with the spec dump, Honda's always kept it very simple. So you just get the one powertrain choice across the entire lineup. It's a 3.5 liter V6. You have 280 horsepower and 262 pound-feet of torque. Those are healthy power figures for sure. And get this vehicle up to speed just fine. And of course you have the refinement of the V6, which I think a lot of people appreciate. Some in the segment have moved away from that. The big rival, of course, is the Toyota Sienna. That is a hybrid exclusive model. So while having a hybrid, of course, has advantages itself, it does also mean that that's the slower product compared to this for sure. It's also the louder and less refined option compared to this.
Yeah, I have to say I really appreciate just the naturally aspirated V6, the simple, refined nature of it. It really just blends into the background and gives you a nice and luxurious feel.
Now, as far as the transmission is concerned, we've got a 10-speed automatic transmission. It's a nice and smooth transmission. Even though you have lots of gears, it really doesn't seem like it gets confused. So when you put your foot down, obviously it can switch between the gears pretty quickly to get you in the power band.
Now, as far as how power is routed to the ground, it is just via the front wheels. This is a front-wheel drive exclusive model. Unlike the competition, which does offer all-wheel drive, the Odyssey continues to not offer all-wheel drive. So for those of you, that might be a pretty big deal and may push you to buy something like a Honda Pilot instead, which of course does have all-wheel drive. And as far as the fuel economy, 192822 is what you are sitting at, which is pretty good fuel economy. Nearly 30 mpg for the highway rating for a V6, I think is pretty solid.
And of course, like we already kind of mentioned earlier, but I do want to explicitly say it, there's not a hybrid offering. Of course, the Sienna has that standard, and the Kia Carnival as well as the Pacifica both offer hybrid powertrains. This model has an auto start-stop system as well. It is nice and smooth, but you can turn it off if you don't want it on.
And we need to talk about ride quality as well, because with this Odyssey, that of course is a focus, and just like every previous model here that we have sampled of the Odyssey, this thing rides like an absolute dream. There really are very few vehicles on the market, regardless of how much money you're willing to spend, that have great ride quality as good as this. I mean, this thing really just soaks up any road imperfections that you may find. The seats are incredibly comfortable. It truly is one of those cars I can just see you cruising down, on family vacation, 10, 12, 13-hour road trips, no problems whatsoever, and you're going to arrive very comfortable.
Now, I certainly wouldn't consider any minivan to be a sporty offering, but I think if there was one, the Odyssey is the closest to it. Combined with the powertrain, and also you have pretty decent handling characteristics, not a tremendous amount of body roll, and most importantly, I think the steering has a good feel to it compared to many of the other vans. Just makes this vehicle feel a little smaller than it actually is. Of course, it's quite significant in terms of the length, even a little longer than the Honda Pilot. So it is a big vehicle, but it doesn't feel like it's difficult to maneuver.
And we're speeding up to 50 miles an hour so we can get a sound level reading in this Honda Odyssey. Let's go ahead and see how quiet it is. I'll put it on fan speed 1. The rear climate is off. 56.5 decibels is our finalized reading for the Odyssey. We don't sit here and guess. We can compare it to all of its rivals at carconfections.com/sound level readings. And this vehicle doesn't have a ton of rivals, but it's going to place them very much on par with most of the other options that you would find out there. The Kia Carnival is the reigning champion when it comes to overall quietness in the cabin. So that's just something to keep in mind. If you want the quietest place, the Carnival might be your better choice, but this is still going to be quiet enough for most families. And let's do our slam dunk and airball, our favorite and least favorite element about the Odyssey. Drew, kick us off with the slam dunk.
We're going to say the slam dunk is the family-friendly features. I think the Odyssey really focuses in quite nicely on the things that matter the most to families, particularly when it comes to just overall practicality and comfort. That, I think, is the primary thing that any good minivan should be focused on, and they certainly do that, just with a little less focus on the frills.
Yeah. Now that is going to be today's airball as well. So, we talked about it throughout the video. There are definitely features missing on this fully loaded Elite Odyssey. No 360 camera, no panoramic moonroof, no all-wheel drive available, no hybrid system. So, yes, there's not a ton of frills. Some of the other competition, the Sienna, it's going to have vacuum cleaners and refrigerators and stuff. All the fancy things are not really available on the Odyssey. So if you just want, comfortable family hauler, that will appeal to you. If you want all the fancy stuff, it's probably not your best choice. Now, one of the only things that did change for 2026 was the price. It has risen about $750 on most of the examples this year, so not a huge price increase. $42,795 is our base price. You have all the other trim levels, which you can see on the screen right now. Ending at this Elite, we have the 2026 Odyssey Elite right now. $51,695 is our price, plus the optional paint and destination of $1,495. We're sitting at $53,645 today. The final assembly point for this model is Lincoln, Alabama. Now, if you're looking to buy a Honda Odyssey or any new vehicle, we'd encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes. The reason you do that is because we have a tool on our website that will connect you with local car dealers in your area to get you the best price. It's also going to give you access to invoice pricing information, which is a great tool to use while negotiating. If you'd like to take advantage of all that, as well as things like our monthly payment tool, you can find a link in our video description as well as a pinned comment down below. But let's talk about resale value and reliability, because that's, of course, very important other than just the original MSRP. First up, let's talk about resale value. As an economics graduate myself, we took the time to develop what we think is a good estimate for this Honda Odyssey's potential resale value. We estimate that after 5 years and 60,000 miles, it'll be worth 64.79% of original MSRP, and after 10 years and 120,000 miles, 34.34%. Those are incredibly good resale value percentages. It's actually the very best in the 5-year 60,000 metric across any vehicle brand that we look at.
Now, we've also done the same for reliability by designing the Combined Reliability Index. This takes into account several reliability studies from trustworthy sources and combines them in a way that gives you the most holistic picture. As you would expect, Honda is rated well above the overall industry average against all other vehicle makes.
Now, if you'd like to learn more about our resale values, our reliability data, or our methodology, be sure to go to carconfections.com/resale and carconfections.com/reliability. Buying a new vehicle is a very big decision, so you want to make sure you're making a smart purchase, especially if you're cross-shopping between different vehicle brands. Now, when it comes to your warranty, you have a 3-year 36,000-mile basic warranty, a 5-year 60,000-mile powertrain warranty, and complimentary maintenance is 1 year and 12,000 miles. And guys, that wraps up our in-depth review of the 2026 Honda Odyssey Elite. If you enjoyed watching this video or found it helpful in your purchasing decisions, which we hope you did, we'd really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. By subscribing, you're going to be a part of our Car Confections family. We have a lot of fun on this channel, and I promise you won't want to miss out. We'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies. And if you're already part of our family, thank you so much for your continued support.